What's going on, you guys? Sports Runs and Diesel back at you here with another episode. And obviously, there's a lot to go. There's a lot to talk about in football in the last week of the NFL season, but there's also a lot to talk about off the field with what we've seen yesterday in the pictures and videos from our nation's capital. A lot of very disturbing scenes there. Unfortunately, 4 people have died due to the circumstances that happened there, and very unfortunate scenes that were saw yesterday during the day and during the night, during the evening news and stuff. So I pray everyone is staying safe. I hope everyone has had a happy new year to start off the year. But let's get into the NFL. I didn't want to get into much talk about what had happened and what had transpired at the nation's capital yesterday. But let's get into it. Giants versus the Cowboys here. The Giants win 23-19. I will get into more detail about why I'm talking about this football game. Obviously, the Cowboys were tied with the Washington football team at 6-9. Washington owned the tiebreaker. The Giants owned the tiebreaker against the Cowboys with the win here. So now they're at 6. Those two teams are at 6-10. They need Giants need Washington to lose to make the playoffs. And I will get to the Washington football team's game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Browns clinch a playoff spot for the first time in 18 years, 18 long, dreadful years, with a 24-22 victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers. And who do they get in the wildcard weekend? They get the Pittsburgh Steelers. They will play each other for a third time this season. And I can't wait to see how that game's going to go. Baltimore wipes out Cincinnati here, 38-3, with a franchise record 404 rushing yards here. And Baltimore, a team that is extremely hot. They're blowing out teams by 20 or more points in the last 4 or 5 games here. And I don't see them slowing down. But let's be honest here. They've played Jacksonville. They've played Cincinnati. They've played some of the worst teams in the NFL. So that's why you're seeing these blowout numbers. But they needed to win out in order for them to make a playoff spot. And they are the 5 seed, and they will sneak in. Buffalo Bills absolutely demolished the Miami Dolphins here, 56-26 here. And because of Buffalo winning, and everyone winning except Miami yet in Week 17, Miami is now out of the playoffs. They had a good season, 10-6. I thought they were going to make the playoffs, but this defense is a defense to be reckoned with, because this defense forced a lot of turnovers. They kept their team in ball games. And this is the one time I think this year I've seen the Miami Dolphins get blown out as a whole. So, we've seen good things from both Fitzmagic and Tua Tagovailoa, but unfortunately, they got to figure out that QB situation down there in Miami. Brian Flores has done a great job, and I think he will continue to do a great job down there in Miami, even though they did not make the playoffs. Packers beat the Bears, and the reason why I'm talking about Packers against the Bears here. Also, by the way, I'm not going to be going over every game here because, unfortunately, I got to get to the wild card weekend and talk about these matchups. Packers, even though the Packers beat the Bears 35-16 here in this ballgame, the Bears still make the playoffs with an 8-8 record due to the Arizona Cardinals not winning their last football game against the Los Angeles Rams, as they lost 18-7. So the Bears sneak in at the 7th seed, and they sneak into the playoffs, and they get the beautiful New Orleans Saints in their wild card matchup. Moving on to the last game that had the biggest playoff implications of any team, of any of the games, the Washington football team against the Philadelphia Eagles here. The Philadelphia Eagles, in order for them to play, spoiler alert, they needed to beat the Washington football team. Washington sneaks by with a 20-14 victory. Some poor decisions. I think poor decisions by Doug Peterson. I know you're trying to they benched Jalen Hurts. They put the third string quarterback in to give him reps, to get him, some playing time during the regular season, even though Philadelphia was nowhere near close to making the playoffs. Carson Wentz is still benched, and he's the $100 million man there in Philly. But they had a chance to play spoiler. If they beat Washington, the Giants go into the playoffs. They don't beat them. Washington, with a 7-9 record, goes into the playoffs as the 4th seed and will get a wild card home game. So, with that all being said, those are only games I'm going to be talking about here. Wild card, the super wild card weekend coming up. We got 6 games, 3 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday. Let's start with the Buffalo Bills against the Indianapolis Colts here. The Buffalo Bills, their first home playoff game since 1996 here. The first game, this game is on Saturday. And I do think Buffalo's going to win this game, but don't sleep on this Indianapolis Colts defense in the running game of the Indianapolis Colts. Don't sleep on Phillip Rivers either, because you never know with him sometimes. Sometimes he can air out the football. And he's had some gunslinging moments this season. And in order to keep up with Buffalo, you're going to need to throw the football. I mean, unless you can control the pace with the run game. And Jonathan Taylor has been nothing short of spectacular in the last few weeks for the Indianapolis Colts team. So we'll see how the Indianapolis ground game does against that Buffalo Bills defense. Second game coming up is the Rams versus the Seahawks here. And this looks to be a good game here. Another divisional matchup. These guys play for the 3rd time this year. It's just like Cleveland and Pittsburgh. And as much as I'm rooting for the Seahawks and I'm rooting for Russell Wilson, I mean, that Rams defense with Aaron Donald and company. I mean, you know, that secondary is really good with Jalen Ramsey. I mean, there's so much in this ball game. I mean, we obviously know Jalen Ramsey is going to match up against the favorable DK Metcalf. And we'll see what Russell Wilson can do. Can Russell Wilson cook? You know, the old that saying that's been said for practically this whole entire season, let Russ cook. Russell Wilson cooked at the beginning of the year. Obviously, we see him tail off, laid off, you know, the last half of the regular season here. But Russell Wilson, we could see him pull it off. He's won a ring before, so we know what he's capable of. But what is Jared Goff and company capable of with that offense, with Robert Woods, with Cooper Kupp? We'll see how this all plays out. Obviously, the last game for the Saturday games is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Washington football team. And you heard Chase Young saying it after their win against the Philadelphia Eagles, give me Tom Brady. Give me Tom Brady. And Bruce Arians is like, be careful what you wish for. But Chase Young has no resentment in those comments he made after their win over the Philadelphia Eagles in Week 17. And this Washington defense is top 5. Their front 7 is top 5 in defense. And, never sleep on their secondary too. But Buccaneers have a good defense as well. And I do believe that Tampa Bay will win this football game because of the quarterback situation in Washington. And Tom Brady has a plethora of offensive weapons at his disposal. They should be more than likely to win this football game with Godwin, Evans, Antonio Brown. Oh, wait, there's Gronkowski, there's O.J. Howard, there's Cameron Brate. Like, the list goes on. And then we're forgetting about the running backs with Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones Jr. There's too much offense for the Washington football team here. So I think Tampa Bay is going to win this football game. Moving on, and that is Saturday night's game. Moving on to Sunday's games, we start off with the Ravens against the Titans. Obviously, the narrative with Lamar Jackson here is he is 0-2 in playoff openers, and he wants to change this narrative, but guess who's standing in his way again for the second time in 3 seasons? The Tennessee Titans and Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill and A.J. Brown and Corey Davis. Like, this Tennessee Titans, not only offense, but defense is just as good. But can the Baltimore Ravens contain Derrick Henry? That's going to decide the outcome of this ball game. And can Lamar Jackson get going? We've seen what he's done against the really bad teams and them blowing them out. But what can he do against this Tennessee Titans defense? A solid, good Tennessee Titans defense. And can he overcome the Tennessee Titans and finally win a playoff opener game, even though they are playing in Tennessee? Moving on to Sunday afternoon's ball game with the Bears versus the Saints here. the Saints are going to win. Let's just be honest here. Nick Foles, Mitchell Trubisky, there's been too much foolishness going on in Chicago. Matt Nagy has done and made good decisions here by letting someone else do the play calling for him, and you've seen the dividends with Mitchell Trubisky at the quarterback spot. They've scored over 30 points a game. I know the last game to me really doesn't count because they play the Green Bay Packers, which is a good and great overall team. So I expect nothing short of New Orleans winning this football game, especially with Drew Brees back at the quarterback spot for this team. And, you got the Swiss Army knife utility man in Taysom Hill. I mean, don't forget Michael Thomas. Emmanuel Sanders is on this team. Alvin Kamara, who a couple weeks ago had one of the games of all time with 6 rushing touchdowns, over 150 yards rushing. I could go on and on about this New Orleans team, but don't sleep on Chicago. Chicago's got Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, and that great secondary of the Chicago Bears. We will see how this all matches up. And then last but not least, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Cleveland Browns here in Sunday night's football game, the last game of the wild card weekend. I want Cleveland to win because Pittsburgh doesn't deserve to be where they are right now. I'm sorry. The only reason why they're 12-4 is because of that defense. That defense is a world-class defense. But with that being said, I still think, as much as I want Cleveland to win, Pittsburgh is probably going to win this game because Kevin Stefanski, 2 coaches, 2 players are out due to COVID-19. And this is huge timing. And you heard Mike Tomlin say it in the interview. This is something everyone has dealt with, not just the Cleveland Browns. Unfortunately, the timing of it is very bad for Kevin Stefanski and some of the coaching staff and some of the players. But at that organization as a whole, I expect Pittsburgh. I want Cleveland to win, but I expect Pittsburgh to win due to the fact of the void that Kevin Stefanski is not going to be there on the sidelines. With that being said, thank you guys so much for your time here. I know this video is obviously shorter, and I'm trying to make them shorter here, especially the NFL videos. But thank you guys again so much for your time. If you haven't already, please leave a like or subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet, because most of you guys that watch my videos do not subscribe to the channel. So I really do hope you guys subscribe and continue to watch my videos. Obviously, we got some NBA news to talk about here. Steph Curry going off for 62 points. There's a lot to talk about, but with the NBA, I will get to those videos very shortly. Thank you guys again so much for your time. I will see you guys all in the next one. Deuces.